I think first and foremost, what drives our athletic directors, our senior administrators, is the question of what do we have to do to continue to keep the MIAA positioned to be a leader within Division Two.
Happy to be back on the A Game show with Commissioner Mike Racy of the MIAA, and also being joined today by a special guest from Missouri Southern State University, the Director of Athletics down in Joplin there at Missouri Southern, Mr. Rob Mallory. Sir, thank you for coming on with us today.
Chris, appreciate you guys having me. Great to be here.
Obviously, we're getting ready for the fall sports season and everything. Just starting out of the gate, just what are you most excited for about the fall sports season and now a new academic year for Missouri Southern as well?
Yeah, it's I can't believe it's here. It's game week, and just excited to see what we can do, to see what we can accomplish this year. Not to belabor it too much, but last year wasn't the year that we wanted to have here at Missouri Southern. So excited to get back into the competitive realm and put last year behind us and have another great year.
Rob, what's the mood of the coaches? Obviously in the MIAA, every academic year brings hope and excitement. I think we're a conference that takes a lot of pride that hey, you go compete in the MIAA, you're going to have a shot at postseason, and then who knows what happens? When you get into the NCAA playoffs. But what do you think the overall mood is for your coaches as you enter a new year?
I feel like we've got a lot of energy going into the year, not just energy, positive energy. I mentioned last year was not the year that we were hoping for. We were coming off back-to-back third place finishes in the Commissioner's Cup, back-to-back top 30 Learfield Directors Cup finishes, and we just didn't hit that standard last year. There were definitely points of pride. Don't get me wrong, right? Our track program continues to do really well. Softball had a great season, made a regional appearance. Women's golf had the best season in that program's young history. Our student athletes continue to excel in the classroom. I think our department GPAs, I got 3.21 going into the fall. So not that there aren't things to be proud of from last year, but again, we just didn't meet the standard that we wanted. And what I've been really proud of, and what I do take away from last year, is the way that our coaches, our staff, our student athletes persevered. Even when things weren't going our way, showing up every day and doing the work. And so we spent a lot of time this summer kind of talking about mindset and focusing on maybe a little bit more inward on being the absolute best version of Missouri Southern that we can be. That's really all we can control. And I think it's been great to see coaches and staff take that to heart. I think as we go into a new academic year, there's a lot of positive energy.
Rob, I want to ask you, starting off just with your credentials and your background, obviously going to Notre Dame, Masters from Xavier, second AD job in Division II. It's an interesting time in higher education and also college athletics. Just what continues to be the enjoyment and what continues to move you forward as there is so much unknown, especially with college athletics, where we're going to be even the next 3 to 5 years.
I think even more broadly, not just college athletics, but higher education in general. My educational background might not predict a 15 plus year career in Division II athletics, but I really have found a home in what I do and enjoy coming to work every day, despite those challenges. And I think what it goes back to is, a lot of young professionals, students that I talk to will say stuff like, I want to work in sports because I love sports or I'm passionate about sports. And don't get me wrong, that's good and honestly necessary if you're gonna work in this industry and have a successful career. But what you find out very quickly is you better be passionate about impact and you better be passionate about helping young people succeed. Because if you're not, then it can suck the life out of you. But that's what keeps me going, and that's what motivates me to want to work, to do whatever it takes to navigate the challenges and the uncertainty, is knowing the transformational experience that we're able to provide, the opportunities that we're able to provide. We have students on our campus that wouldn't have an opportunity to go to college if not for an athletic scholarship. And that has the potential to change someone's life, not just their own life, but generations to follow. So when you think about what we do in those terms, and if you're passionate about helping young people achieve their goals, it's really easy to get out of bed and come to work.
Rob, we've asked you this year to kind of step into a new role in the conference. You've obviously had leadership positions within the MIAA, and we've had a chance to work closely together. But this year your colleagues called on you to step into the chair position for our athletic administrators committee, and within the new MIAA governance model, our new constitution, a group that has a lot of authority and responsibilities for the day-to-day operations of the conference and our championships and the student experience. What are some of the things that you can share that are driving the agenda this year? Important issues or initiatives that our ADs and our SWAs are working on?
Big question. No, it's an honor to be in the role. And I think, a willingness to serve in capacities like that is important, both at the conference level and the NCAA level. So I'm thrilled to be in a position to do that. I think we talked about the challenges in the landscape and how everything is, the ground is shifting under our feet, it seems like every day. And a lot of kind of sitting around and waiting to see what's going to happen as the House settlement is implemented and what trickles down. So I think first and foremost, what drives our athletic directors, our senior administrators, um, is the question of what do we have to do to continue to keep the MIAA positioned to be a leader within Division II, whether that's competitive success, whatever role we might play in helping, on a national scale to navigate the changes that are going on, and affect change within Division II. So how do we keep the league positioned to be a leader? And really that brings in a lot then when you think about what are you talking about on a daily basis or what's driving the agenda. That brings in, conference membership. It brings in scheduling. Are we putting our teams in the best position to get access to the postseason, be successful in the postseason? It brings in student athlete welfare. Are we maximizing our partnership with the U.S. Council for Athletes Health? Championships, how are we providing the best championship experience possible for our student athletes? And then what financial decisions do we have to make as a league to be able to fund those experiences? And so I think when you think about trying to keep the league positioned where it's been historically, that brings a lot into play. And then, without getting into too much detail, we are coming up on the end of a strategic plan. So looking ahead to see, what we might need to do, work with our CEO council as we move forward there. And then I would imagine, Mike, that, over the next few months, there's going to be a lot of advocacy going on as I believe the league and or most of its members have kind of put our names behind 4 legislative proposals that'll be voted on in January in DC. So, quite a bit of advocating for those things that we think are important.
Yeah. Rob, you talked earlier about kind of your message this summer to your coaches, and it seems to be a common theme that you just went through with our conference and your leadership role there. And it's really, control the things you can control, and don't worry about the things that are out of your control, but stay focused. And with the MIAA, obviously you went through a list of things that we can control. How great our championships are. We can control decisions that we're making about membership. We can control the proposals and the things that we want to sponsor and advocate for to change or to improve Division II. One thing we've spent a lot of time talking about the last couple of years, Rob, is innovation, and how do we continue to to bring technology and advancements into the MIAA, but figure out how to do that in a cost-effective way, and one that doesn't overburden our personnel, our campus personnel. And obviously, you've been on the front line of some of those big decisions we've been making, whether it's related to our network or replay or other issues that we try to stay out in front of. But talk a little bit about those conversations that we have in the MIAA about innovation, about technology, about trying to continue to improve our sports and improve the game atmospheres for our fans, our coaches, and our officials.
Yeah, we've embraced technology to the point, Mike, that I hired a former middle school technology teacher to be our event operations person. So that knowledge comes in handy. No, I
Yes.
think again, going back to trying to position the league to be a leader. Let's talk about replay, right? We really had a proactive hand in getting a realistic replay system implemented within Division Two, to the point that we were able to get the NCAA playing rules changed to allow for that. And I think what we've seen is we were a leader in that space, and I the football replay side of it, especially as it relates to targeting, right? Going back to what I said about the impact we have on students. Um, for our student athletes, their sport is important, and a football student athlete is only guaranteed, 11 participation opportunities every season. So when you have a targeting call that could ultimately get them disqualified and cause them to miss one of those opportunities, it's a big deal.
Yep.
So just in that sense alone, I think what we've been able to do, um, with instant replay, especially in the sport of football, has been fantastic. Not to mention the fact that in the first year we did it, we actually had a call overturned that allowed us to win a game at Fort
Yeah.
Hays. But that's an ancillary benefit. Uh, but the expansion of that now into other sports, the human element's always going to be there when it comes to officiating. But if we have an opportunity to get a call right, and to make sure that game results are decided by the student athletes, I think we should embrace that opportunity, and we've done that. Certainly the network as well. With what we've done there, I think an industry leader in streaming, and one of the early adopters in moving sports behind a paywall. But with that comes an expectation and a standard. If you're going to ask people to pay to watch your games,
Right.
they're going to expect a quality broadcast. So we've had to continue to look at ways to move our broadcast operations forward. And so again, I think these are big decisions. Sometimes they're big investments, but I think we're seeing the return on that investment in both time and money.
Mhm.
Rob, we're seeing also across the board, more so Division One, obviously, where it's more how much is the salary cap going to be for these teams? I mean, that's basically just getting down to it. But Division Two doesn't really have that issue. There's NIL money there too, but the differences there are that there's so much going on in the NCAA. There's two different avenues, I guess. Do you feel like there's some Division One schools that may feel like Division Two could be a better fit for them because of what's happening with the Power Fours and the salary caps basically being, here's what you have, go spend the millions of dollars, and the other D1s are sitting out here going, we can't compete with that either.
Yeah, I wish I had that crystal ball. Um, But I mean, Mike, you've talked about this in a lot of conversations that we've had, or in meetings and settings that we've been in, kind of that educational model versus business model,
Yeah.
and the business model that really Division One has become, especially post House with direct revenue sharing. Um, I think it's interesting. I think it feels like the financial pressure is already mounting for a lot of those schools. So, how long realistically can some of them hold on and continue to operate in that ecosystem and try to compete for the same championships as the schools that are sharing $20+ million in revenue? And so you're already seeing everyone, even the schools at the highest level that have the most resources, are trying to find ways to create new revenue streams, right? We've seen massive concerts thrown that are supporting NIL efforts because they're trying to generate new revenue. Not everybody at that level has the ability to realistically create impactful revenue that way. So you're also seeing a lot of Division I schools that are seeking more direct financial support from their institution. So, they've kind of been able to operate on an island previously where the revenue that they bring in through media rights and things like that it basically funds their entire operation. Well, now they need to put that media revenue and other revenue into student athlete payments. So they're going to the institution to say, we need direct subsidy. And that's even happened at the Power Four level.
That's what really worries me, Rob, from a sustainability standpoint. Those schools that are having to make decisions to lay off faculty or to cut expenses on the academic side to help fund a revenue share or big increases in tuition or student fees. I find it hard to believe that they're going to be able to sustain. Many schools would be able to sustain that type of a model, and probably could be better positioned in a conference like the MIAA that seems to be a little more fiscally prudent, a little more of a national championship competition type experience, but doing it in a way where the rest of campus and your community appreciates the investments you're making.
Yeah, I think it's one thing if you're the large land grant public university in your state with 30,000 students to go and ask for some budgetary support from the institution. But if you're a regional public, a school that looks like a lot of the schools in the MIAA,
Yeah.
that's a harder ask. And then or you're putting it on the backs of the students where we're seeing student fee increases of 200%. Year over year to help fund athletic operations. I don't know how long you can sustain that. And so it feels like, along with all the other pressures right now, economic pressures in higher ed, right? Looming enrollment cliff, political involvement, those sorts of things, it just doesn't feel sustainable for a lot of schools. So I don't know. I think I could see one of two things happen. Is there some kind of reorganization within Division I where the schools that feel like, okay, we tried it, we can't do it. They're going to reorganize so that, you have conferences that are all playing by the same rules. Then they've got to make that decision. Do we realistically think, or is it worth it to try to compete for the same championships as the schools that are sharing $20+ million with student athletes? Or do we need to look at something like Division II, or do we need to work with schools that are invested at a certain level within Division II to maybe come up with something new? I don't know that I'd completely rule that out either, but I think there's a few directions that could all go. It just feels like as we sit here today, though, that for a lot of those schools that trying to operate in that model is not sustainable.
Rob, one thing that's exciting about what's going on in Division II is, at least for this year's NCAA convention, the opportunity to debate and talk about a concept that within the NCAA would be unique in Division II, a fifth year of eligibility. And we've seen a lot of media and other folks around intercollegiate athletics talk about this for a few years. We get a chance in January to actually have some debate and perhaps a vote on whether this is what we want in Division II or not. How do you feel about that proposal? And what do you think about that as it relates to Missouri Southern and even the rest of the MIAA, a fifth year of eligibility for all of our student athletes?
Yeah, I think the conversation in January and leading up to it's going to be really interesting.
Mhm.
The model that we're going to vote on is the model that I supported when we did the survey,
Yep.
and was the model supported universally by our coaches. So I'm excited about that. I think there's still some some questions to be answered, some details that need to be ironed out. I think at this point we kind of know the plan as far as who would have access to that fifth year, right? We're talking about everybody that didn't exhaust their eligibility last year. So if they're on a college campus in Division II right now, or I guess on a college campus, they have access to that fifth year. I think there's some questions around financial aid that we need to kind of wrap our arms around as far as, and is there an opportunity for a temporary waiver to equivalency limits, or does this need to ultimately lead to looking at changing our equivalency limits if we're going to a 5-year model? I do really like the fact that within Division II, we just decided to go for it.
Yeah.
We post new NCAA constitution as we move more toward federated governance. I think we need to do more of this. I think we
Yeah.
need to be willing to go out on a limb, and if we think it's the best thing for Division II, then go ahead and do it, or at least try it. So I'm excited about that. I'm certainly, as a former compliance director, excited at the prospect of simplification of the eligibility rules. If you play, you use the season, and elimination of a lot of the waiver opportunities that are out there. And that'll make it a lot easier for compliance administrators and honestly for coaches, just from a roster management standpoint. Once you get through that initial transition period from 4 years to 5 years anyway. I think it's good in that it will help more student athletes graduate.
Yeah.
And we've got some data behind that I think, what was it, 37% that took longer than 4 years to graduate. Yeah, I think, unfortunately, we still have, an environment where once student athletes don't have access to competition or maybe financial aid, they don't finish. So creating that opportunity to finish, or for a lot of student athletes, maybe creating an opportunity to help get a master's degree paid for.
Right.
So I think those are good student outcomes that could come from that. As it relates to the MIAA, I think this could potentially be good legislation for our league. I think, especially when you look at it in terms of the potential of students who have exhausted their eligibility in other divisions that are looking for a home and wanting to use that fifth year, I think the MIAA would be a destination conference for those student athletes based on the competitive success of the league and the investment that our institutions make in athletics. But it's
Rob,
going to be an interesting debate.
you've been at a private school before. That this might set up kind of a little bit of a private versus public debate in January, don't you think?
I definitely think that will be, maybe not the party lines, so to speak, but
Yeah.
that's going to be where there is some divide when you think about the investment from a dollars standpoint required in a scholarship. And again, we've still got to sort out some details there on the financial aid side and the equivalency side, but also from a roster management and enrollment driver standpoint,
Right.
right? You're now spreading your roster out over 5 classes instead of 4. How does that impact an institution's annual enrollment and their goals there? And I've certainly worked at places where that's a big piece of the puzzle. So I do think that a lot of the conversation will be around that, and you'll see, a little bit of a line drawn there.
Mm-hmm.
Rob, final question I have for you today, and appreciate you coming on. Kind of a two-parter here to get you out of here, but you're on the D2 membership committee. Obviously, there's a lot of unknowns, but it seems like there's also a lot of excitement for the future as well when it comes to Division II. What are you most excited for? Maybe looking ahead, but also, like we've talked about, there's some unknowns or some concerns probably along the way too.
Yeah. I think from an excitement standpoint, so Division II has always been very well run, and I'm not just saying that because the former vice president for Division II is on this podcast. But especially from a fiscal standpoint, right? Division II has always been operated very well from a fiscal standpoint. And so not only that, we're now in an environment where we have new revenues to invest. And we have kind of a new structure in place with the Strategic Planning and Finance Committee to look at ways and engage with the membership on how those new revenues should be invested. So I'm excited about that. And I think with some of the governance changes, it does feel like we're getting to a place where we're a little bit more nimble and we can react a little bit more quickly. I think about football bracket expansion, right? I mean, just last January, we passed legislation to move to AQs in Division II football. We've already expanded the bracket. 5 years ago, that process would not have happened that quickly. So I think, that's a really good thing for the membership. I think that we're doing a better job right now of listening to the membership. We just did this very lengthy membership survey. One of the things coming out of that is the decision to sunset the festivals. And I think in concept, the festivals were great, but sometimes concepts run their course. And I think when you got feedback from the membership, that's kind of where we were at with the festivals. And we didn't, globally dig our feet in the ground and say, no, this is something that's unique to Division II, so we have to keep doing it. We listened to the membership and we said, okay, this has run its course. And now maybe that's an opportunity to invest, savings in other areas of the championships program. So those things I think are good, and um, again, as we move to more federated governance, we need to be looking at ways to make sure we're doing what's right for Division II and not just do what everybody else is doing. I'm encouraged by, a willingness to at least engage in the conversations around regionalization and bracket expansion, and bracketing philosophies maybe is a better way to put that. So, um, yeah, we know we're going to continue to select by region, but maybe similar to what we do in football, we can bracket teams in other regions, which I think gives us a better chance to make sure the best teams are playing deeper into the postseason. So just a willingness to engage in that conversation is encouraging. I think what concerns me, I don't know, will we do enough? Will we be willing to do enough to make changes that we think are beneficial to our student athletes and the experiences that we're able to provide? I do think it's hard not to worry about. Kind of feels like maybe sometimes Division II is an afterthought, um, with everything that's going on in Division I and everything that they're trying to sort out. That maybe we don't get the attention that we deserve. So I think it's natural to have that concern. Um, the potential legal threats, maybe that are out there. We've seen, Division I has become so litigious. We've seen all these lawsuits around eligibility rules and really made it virtually impossible for the NCAA to enforce those rules. When does that hit Division II? Does that hit Division II? I think that's something that's a little worrisome. You can look at something like student athlete employment as a continued threat, and you know things move slowly in DC, and is it realistic to expect congressional intervention on that front? I don't know, but that's certainly a threat that's out there to us. And then I think on a more maybe micro level within Division II, and specifically related to my role in the membership committee, the institutions that we're bringing into Division II don't have the same profile as the institutions that we've lost to Division I. And that's nothing against those schools that are coming into the process. I think great institutions, and welcome them, and they can bring a lot to Division II, but it doesn't change the fact that they don't have the same profile from a resource standpoint or a competitiveness standpoint that the schools that we've lost had when they were in the Division II ranks. So how do we in Division II attract the types of members that we want to be part of what we're doing? I think we provide a great experience in Division II, championship level competition. This is high level competition, no bones about it. And a great experience for our student athletes, great education. How do we attract the schools that we want to be part of that? Whether they're currently in Division I, currently in Division III, currently in NAI, it doesn't matter. How do we get the ones that we want coming into the process? But
Rob, I think,
big picture,
yeah,
I think it's an exciting time.
I agree. I think it's this is our time in Division II. This is our moment, I think, to be on the offense, to fully embrace the education model of intercollegiate athletics. I think when intercollegiate athletics was designed and developed as part of the mission of higher education, as a place that students can go have an opportunity because of sport to earn a degree, to develop life skills, to grow and be prepared for whatever's after college. Division two is now the place that has the best opportunity to make that happen. And I think as schools are going to continue to struggle to figure out how to make the financial model work under a new environment for Division One athletics, a more transactional model than a model that we have in Division Two that seems to be more transformative. I think it's our chance to really go on the offense as a division, talk proudly about what it is we believe in, what we have to offer. And, I believe that we've never been better positioned as a division to have success.
Yeah, I think, I just made a comment about, Division two not getting enough attention, and I think that may be true, but it's not a shot at NCAA leadership by any stretch. One of the things that NCAA President Charlie Baker, has said and is on record is that he believes college sports is one of the world's greatest human development programs. And I think he's 100% right. And I don't think anybody's doing it better right now than we are in Division two.
Mm-hmm.
And again, that experience that we're able to provide our student athletes and those opportunities that we're able to provide. There's a lot of ways to teach and impact students. We do it through sports. And I think there's some very unique things that sports can teach, and some skills that sports can develop. And so, yeah, I think we should embrace that within Division two, because I think we do a great job of it.
Yep. Hey, one last question for me, Rob. I know first home football game on Saturday, and a lot of folks are heading to Joplin. What's the place that people should go for their pregame activities and pregame meal? Do you have a recommendation?
Ooh, okay.
No pressure, by the way.
Yeah.
None.
Well, if pizza is your thing, I certainly would recommend Gusano's, which is right here by campus. Mike, last time you were in, that's where you and I had lunch. They're a great supporter of Missouri Southern athletics. That's our official Game Watch location for road games. So I would give them a shout out. If you want a burger, Social BTB is hosting the Coach Atiba Bradley radio show this year in downtown Joplin. If you're looking for something a little more upscale, Club 609 or Finn's would be good recommendations. So a lot of great options here in the Joplin area.
Stay overnight, make a weekend of it, and hit all of those places, right,
There
Rob?
you go. Yes, absolutely.
Mike's paying for it, so that's
stay at
all we
one
know.
of our hotel partners, please. Stay at one of our
Yes.
hotel partners.
It's
Very
all on Mike's
good.
bill anyway, so that's all that matters.
Yeah.
So
Bill to the conference.
there we go. Rob, appreciate your time today, sitting here and chatting with us. I appreciate you coming on.
I appreciate you guys having me. Enjoyed the conversation.
Thank you, Rob.